Okay, so what I want to do is a quick little Nurbs talk. Okay, I'm going to go put these on two panels here. So there we are. We're on my front view. Actually, where did my labels go for my freaking cameras? Okay, whatever. I won't worry about that right now. It doesn't tell me what they are. Um, I've turned something off somewhere. What I'm going to do first, I'm going to go over here to create CV curve tools, and I'll create a CV curve. And I'm going to go in here and I'm going to hold down X so it snaps to the grid, and I'll make another one here, and just going to make ye old wine glass, like one of the oldest modeling tricks in the book. I'm putting down maybe too many points here. Remember, I can hit backspace and undo points. I can middle click and move them around after I've placed them. Okay, and I'm just going to do something like this, and I'll try to spread these out really quick. And because I don't want to do too much talking. Oh, who am I kidding? I love talking. Can't get enough of it. Okay, let's hold down X there. We're finished. So I've drawn this curve in 3D space. Now, if I go to surfaces, there's this thing here called revolve, and this is going to create a Nurbs object by default. If I go in here and I hit reset settings, here it is, Nurbs. Bloop. There. Now, if you have a Nurbs object, you remember also too, there's one thing that's really kind of cool is you can affect this thing by going in and moving the curve if you haven't deleted the history on it. So I could spend some time and make things straighter. I can go in here and delete points. I can add in more points. If I go right click and I go to edit point, nope, go to curve point, sorry. I can pop in a point right here, say, or actually put in multiple holding down shift, and I go into curves and I use insert, not, remember these are all based off, I just undid that. These are all based off of shipbuilding terms from like 100 years ago. Okay, so now when I built this, didn't come out exactly right. If I look down here, there's an option, output geometries, polygons. Whoop! And I'll just bring this down. And here we'll just move this over. Remember, I had to draw that in one of the orthographic views, so front camera or side camera or whatever. And it defaults on the y-axis. I don't care about this stuff right now. It's this little thing in here. I have no idea why the default settings are the way they are. Type triangles. Well, here, if I just go ahead and I hit apply, that's my polygon, and that sucks, right? That's no good. So I'm going to change it to quads. Tessellation method. This is how it converts the Nurbs to polygons. I'm going to put that on general. And this feels like a psychology exam. I'm going to choose the third option. I could go in and explain all these things, but it's really not worth it. Okay, there, I turned the number to U and V. Remember, that's unilateral and vertical. This curve, the way it creates things is unilateral and vertical, kind of like how UVs work. Anyway, I'm going to go and make sure I select it. I hit apply, boom, I get exactly what I want. You might notice it might not have as much of the shape of the Nurbs. The Nurbs seem smoother. When I press this and I press 3, it's smoother. Okay, remember, this is a polygon now. I can insert edge loops. You can also go in here to revolve, and instead of 8 sections, you could put in 12 here. Okay, if for some reason you wanted to, you could also go into the Nurbs tessellate, and you could play with the number in U and the number in V, which is going to be very similar to the revolve option, if not identical. Anything else you need to know about this? No, I think that's good. Okay, so that's one Nurbs object we've just talked about. Remember, you can start inserting edge loops, you can do whatever you want. And also, too, this is still feeding information into both of them until you delete the history. Okay, occasionally you might have to take this and delete the history before you delete this thing and get rid of it. Okay, let's keep this around because it's interesting, maybe. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to create a Nurbs circle. Stay away from the square really sucks. I'm just going to take the circle, I'll make it a bit bigger. Now, I started drawing my curve, I started drawing it right down here. Okay? And I'm just going to take this, I'm going to snap it back. If you hold down C, you can snap to your curve. C and you middle click. And it also sometimes helps if I hold down J, if you rotate it so it's kind of facing the same direction. This gives you some more options, okay? Like, for what I'm about to do, let's do some extruding. Surfaces. There's the Nurbs extrude. And I always kind of this stupid line if you choose all the right options. All these options right here on the right, if you have them lined up, boop, they'll give you almost what you want automatically. Now that circle's still sitting down there. Here, I'm going to go and grab it through here. What was it? Oh, I was doing a bunch of crap in here. Let's remove that. Great. And if you grab the shape, whoop, you could do this. That's interesting. Okay. And also, too, if you grab the extrude, actually, let's move this right here, you'll find that you can adjust the scale of it as it goes down the curve. Okay, so I've just shrunk it down. You can also rotate it, and here I rotate it 360. You can rotate it 1024. Okay, and you can keep rotating around there if you want to. Actually, it'd be 1080, right? 1080 is like 3 times. And you might notice the curve here could be rebuilt too. If I go to curves, you can go and rebuild the curve. And here, I'll just show you what that looks like with wireframe on. If I do 100 spans, 0 to number of spans, bloop, there. And actually, we're seeing it rebuild these other things because there's history being fed into them too. Take this thing, delete the history, Alt-Shift-D, grab the curve, and bloop. Now it only affects this thing over here. And this curve, and it's kind of made it so they're all relatively even. Also note that if I go in here, come on, there we go. Actually, let's undo it. And I'll get rid of that weird rotation on there too, and the scale. Something else to note about this when you do this is that your UVs come in laid out. Let's get rid of this. You can only see it kind of grayed out right now. That's because that's still Nurbs. Had I have, oh you bastard, delete. And if I go on in here and grab the circle, hold down Shift, grab the curve, and I go into Surfaces, Extrude, and I make the output boop, polygons. There we go. And that's the same settings that were on the other one because it remembers the conversion settings. So the UVs are laid out. Anything else I could say about this? So those are 2 of the handiest Nurbs. There's also, you know what? I don't know how handy this is getting anymore. What are we at? 7.5 minutes. If I go in and I create the create CV curve tool, and I go la 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 la, I make some kind of curtain-y thing. Sometimes I do stuff like, I don't know, I try and draw looking at an image and doing a cross section of it if I'm doing curtains. Enter. I'll do that again. Okay, and remember that there's actually a couple of other curve tools sitting in there. I'm kind of curious. Let's just do them just for the hell of it. Enter. What if I went in here and I was creating CV curve tools? There's the EP curve tool, and that's the edit points, and it's the same kind of thing except for the points are right on the curve. It is making a curve. The only thing in there I really tend to avoid is the Bezier curves. I don't know, I have, oh, and I set mine up kind of funny. I think on my curve I put it to 1 linear. I always put the EP on 1 linear so I get straight kind of polygonal lines, and then on my CV one, I'm just going to get rid of this. If I go to create CV curve tool, I always have that one on 3 cubic. I don't know, it's just the way I use it. One other funny tool down in here is the pencil curve tool, because it just lets you kind of come in and draw. Whoop. I'm just trying to draw the same kind of curve just so that everything looks similar but off. Okay, there. Now the only thing about this thing is here when I finish, if we take a look at how many freaking points it leaves a lot. Okay, you're in a bit more control when you're going in and drawing, say, this one. They look kind of the same. It's less. And here, let's just go and take this. I'll pull this up a little bit. I'll take this one, pull it up a little bit, and curve there. And then what I typically do is grab this one, shift that one, that one. And if I go to surfaces, they have a thing in here called loft. And I'll just take a look at that, and that's complete. Polygons, same settings, bloop, there. It went black because surfaces have a front and a back. One thing it did do that's kind of off here is if you take a look, all the lines are just not straight or anything like that. Well, that's because if I go in here to the attribute editor, that one's got 39, that one has got 77, and that one's got 48. If I grab all the curves at the same time, and I go here to curves, and I rebuild, let's say 32. When I hit apply, rebuilds them, and maybe 32 wasn't enough, but then if I take this thing and I hit 3, it's kind of smooth. And it doesn't look like they're all the same. It looks like there's a little bit of a random factor. You can grab the surface too and just go mesh display, reverse. Okay. And I could have reversed the curve direction too if there was a problem with the curves that way. Anything else I want to say about this? Also, when you loft, you could change the loft option so you get another section in here. Okay. Whoop, whoop, whoop. And that is a polygon now. Yeah, and I think, is there anything else in here I need to say? Actually, maybe one other thing that's kind of handy. If I go here to create CV curve tool, and let's go and draw some kind of weird amoebic type shape. Enter. I always leave a gap here on the curve, and then I go to curves and I use open, close. Otherwise, I get kind of a funkage when I'm trying to play around with the curve, and now it's kind of sealed off, and you always tell there's a little box here where it's closed. Okay, great. So I got this nice curve, and underneath surfaces, something else I tend to like is the bevel plus. The bevel sucks, okay, but the bevel plus is interesting. When I hit apply, it gives me a polygon surface, and it's got this one here is kind of small, or I think it's because my scene size is huge, so this thing is actually quite large. If I go in here and I grab it, and I were to scale this down, I think my bevel should get bigger. Oh, maybe I'm crazy. Let's just go and freeze it, and I'm just going to take this and delete it. We'll try it one more time. No, it's the same. I'm crazy. Okay, so the bevel plus, what it does is it gives you, this is a polygon object, but it bevels everything. And if I go into the attribute editor and I find the bevel plus, you can find that it's got a bevel at the start, bevel at the end. Okay, so you can turn those things off if you want to for whatever reason. Play with the bevel width, play with the depth, play with the distance that it that it extrudes, makes it thicker. Okay, and then you can go in here to the outer curve style, and if there's an inner piece, you can have inner curve style as well. And if I take this and I start paging down, you can see all the different types of bevels you can get from this beast. And that could take a little while to model, so that's kind of handy. Although this thing here is just a big n-gon that you've got to deal with. But if you take a look, and we turn this off, that's not too bad. But if I press 3, then I've got trouble, and then I've got to figure that out. What if I go in here and I grab my faces and I hit extrude the old polygon way, and what if I go and I hit Control E, and I'm going to use a little bit of offset action. I'm just going to hit 1 and see how far that goes in, and yeah, then I might hit this with mesh triangulate, and let's see what happens when I hit 3 this time. That's better. As long as it's flat, everything's cool. Okay, and I think, do I want to show the bi-rail? Not going to show the bi-rail unless I get some crazy requests for it. Everything else should be fine. Yeah, and I'm going to stop here.